Record comments.
Accents over there. Holly, are you the one who's editing? Okay, perfect. I won't worry about it.
I just watched that movie this weekend, actually. That's the movie.
How was everybody's weekend? Excellent.
Okay. All right.
Mine was, my body is in shambles. It's this dirt, every wheelbarrow, and I thought, okay, I'm nearing the end,
I don't do it.
and there's just more work.
Well, I got here this week.
I have battle wounds too, like all my knuckles are bruised. But y'all, my yard is like, I want to be in the Waconia magazine because I have put it's like the biggest project this year. And it rained all day yesterday, so I did not get any of my planting done. So I have all these vanilla strawberry hydrangeas. They're the ones that grow 6 to 7 feet tall, and they have the really like cone sized big flowers. I'm gonna get those planted, and I did black mulch this year, so it's making everything in my yard pop. It's just beautiful.
I love that. I'm sure that's.
What?
She took me going to see her, but it's got her dogs in the age. Right.
Your program.
I have like 38.
Morning, Josette.
Good morning.
Hi, Noel. Who's iPhone 8?
Hi.
I should.
I think we always ask that.
Morning, Chris.
Your spouse or somebody else?
Hello. I want to see pictures of the black mulch.
Okay.
Sure. We'll take some photos when it's all done. It's sunny today. If it holds up, hopefully I can get some more done tonight.
They say they're not there.
That's part of this one, the man, I can see your first.
Okay, well, it's 11:05. I think I'm gonna get rolling. Excellent. So today we're talking about providing value as a buyer's agent, right? As we head into the summer with it being kind of peak season for us in real estate in Minnesota and potential changes coming down the pipeline mid-August with buyer agency. It's really important to know what value you bring to the table as a buyer's agent. Providing exceptional value to your clients is really crucial for building trust. They're not just looking for someone to open doors for them, and we have to be able to set ourselves out as different. I've probably talked about that ad nauseum, but it's because I mean it. And obviously the most experienced agents here and online, so agents on the team, you know that providing a high level of service is what builds a referral-based business. Nicole, would you be in the industry after so many years if you weren't giving top-notch service in addition to negotiating skills and everything else?
Probably not.
No, and how much of your business is referral-based?
Almost all of it.
Almost all of her business, this is Nicole Junker I'm talking to in the background, is referral-based. And she got to that point because she provides value to every buyer that she helps, and obviously the same to listings. When it comes to working with buyers, we want you to customize your approach with each client. It's a great way to give them personal attention, and you're demonstrating your level of commitment to their success, right? Buying a home is a big deal. So you need to be able to be the expert that they can count on while they're going through that process. And there's a right way and a wrong way to do it. If you're just kind of taking that sit back approach to things and waiting for the client to come to you, what are you providing to them that they can't find online? Our goal should always be to be proactive, right? We're providing a level of value. We are the resource, the go-to person. And that means that we're proactively searching for homes. We're actively listening to try and understand what their needs are and providing regular follow-up. Customizing our communication style and approach in a way that works for the client. I call myself a real estate matchmaker because that's my goal with every single buyer that I work with. I want to be able to figure out exactly what it is that they need, and then I want to be the one that finds it for them. Not all clients you're going to be able to do that with, and not all clients want you to take that kind of approach. They just want to find the house for themselves, right? So that's kind of where that customizing the approach comes into play. But by and large, if you're the person who is, hey, tell me more of what you're looking for so that I can help find it for you, they want someone who is going to provide that kind of service. And the proof is in the numbers. So I'm going to go over some stats real quick with you today. First, the average age of a first-time buyer rose to an all-time high of 36 years old last year. These are all stats that came out from surveys sent out by the National Association of Realtors. Average age for a repeat buyer, all-time high, 59 years old. What does this tell us? When it comes to providing value to as a buyer's agent, you have to know who it is that you're selling to and customize the approach, because someone who's 36 communicates differently than someone who's 59. Their integration with technology is going to be very different. A first-time buyer at 36 years old probably has a different level of understanding with how the world works and finances and things work than someone who maybe is in their early 20s, right? And what about someone who at 59 years old, they're a repeat buyer, okay? They're likely someone who's downsizing, and their circumstances are going to be very different. So you have to know who it is that you're selling to in order to provide value to them. Second, 62% of first-time buyers listed the desire to own a home of their own as the main reason they wanted to purchase property. The consumer sees value in home ownership. How are you helping them see value in the houses that are put in front of them that they can afford, that meet their needs? 47% of all buyers first looked online for properties before contacting an agent. What does this tell us? They've been searching for a while, and you need to set yourself apart as different from that very first contact. 47%, almost half of all buyers have been looking online. They have some understanding of where they want to be, what they think they can afford, the type of home that they're looking for, and probably some kind of idea in mind of what they expect from a realtor, right? So you have to know that, and you have to set yourself apart as different. That's why you have to provide value on that first showing, and we've done a training on that this month. It's so important. 86% of buyers agreed that their real estate buyer's agent was a very or somewhat useful information source. I don't know why I didn't highlight that in red. Sorry, guys. Being a great resource is one of the best ways that you can provide value. Again, if they can just Google it, if they can just go on Zillow and find it, what do they need you for? I want you to think about that a little bit. What does a buyer need you for? You need them to build your business, right? You need that experience to be really good. But what do they need you for if you're not the person who's a resource? 49% of buyers most wanted help finding the right home. You need to know the product you're selling and be the matchmaker. So if you were able to attend any of our trainings in January that talked about the components that go into a home, how do you explain that to someone if you don't know what you're looking at on showings? Think of this as an art or a craft. You need to know it better than anyone else. And if you have 47% of buyers looking online before they contact an agent, they've probably been through open houses. Maybe they have been doing some research on properties on their own. Do you know enough about the homes and the product you're selling to provide value to that group of buyers who's probably been doing some research? You have to know what it is that you're selling better than anyone else. 89% of buyers agreed that they would use their agent again or refer them to others. 89%, guys. Nicole Junker just said her entire business is built on referrals, right? To get to that level, and 89% of buyers saying that, you have to provide value as an agent. It's what leads to happy clients. It's a direct effect on building your future business. And I wanted to put this quote in here that is from Sarah Church that she stated at her open house event. This one really stood out to me. When she is in front of someone, she asks the question, is anyone working for you right now? That's very different than asking, do you have an agent, right? How many people know realtors?
Everybody.
Everybody knows somebody, right? But that's very different. Knowing a realtor is different than having someone work for you, right? And by saying right now, like that implies you're ready to get to work or that they need someone working for them.
Can I give a couple of really simple examples,
Of,
like, of like going out of your way and like really adding value?
sure, I don't mind. It might be in my outline, but you go ahead. Do you want to come up so people can hear you better?
Because the recording, Nicole.
Nicole wants to give a couple of quick examples of ways to provide value to clients.
So these are people that I'm like currently working with right now. I have one senior couple that's downsizing into a townhome. And as we all know, HOAs have a lot of rules and regulations. One thing that's very important to this couple is that he is like a diehard user of his charcoal grill. And he has to be allowed to use a charcoal grill in his HOA. I literally sat on my couch yesterday for over an hour and reached out to different listing agents if they didn't have the rules and regulations in their supplements to find out if HOAs allowed charcoal grills.
I love that.
Because I had to come up with a list of properties to show them. Like, put in the work.
We do talk about this a little bit. I love that you actually have an example of it. This is a very specific need and want that means something to this client, right? Now, if the client has to call HOAs and figure that out for themselves, what are you providing for value?
Yeah.
She knows that this is an important thing for her clients, so she's taking the initiative to do the work for them. And you're not going to waste your time showing townhomes that wouldn't be a fit because you know that's a deal breaker.
Right.
So she's also not putting in front of them homes that would not be a fit.
Right.
This is going to make an overall better experience for her client.
I have another client that's a state trooper and has to be within 10 miles of the boundary that he patrols. So like knowing what that boundary is and not showing them properties outside of that boundary. Like you're wasting your time and you're wasting their time. Like, so find out what's important to your client and like go the extra mile to specifically tailor their search for that need.
Yeah. I stay up here actually, because great.
Nice.
That's two really great examples. So, when it comes to how you initiate that conversation, how are you using that kind of conversation to deliver value?
Yeah, so like sometimes, like with the state patrol officer, they're like, okay, we want to look for homes in Egan, Inver Grove Heights, Rosemont, Burnsville. And I was like, okay, why are those areas important to you? Right? So like ask the why questions, especially if they give you some like specific criteria. It's not that they just want to live in that area. Maybe it is that they want to live in that area, but like ask the why questions, like get personal with that. Find out what is important to them and why it's important to them.
And if you had not taken the time to ask that question and you were just out showing homes, would that have prevented you from showing them homes in Lakeville or Hastings or
Right, like,
Berry?
If I wouldn't have asked the why question, right, I may have suggested a property in Lakeville that I thought met their criteria, but really didn't meet their criteria. So if they're like, no, we don't want to see that, it's like, okay, why don't you want to see that? Because based on what you told me, it's not in the right city, but it still meets your criteria, right? So yeah, I think just asking more questions. Like with the charcoal grill people, I didn't find that out until we were looking at a property. And the daughter was like, are charcoal grills allowed? Because this is something that's really important to my dad. I was like, oh, well, that's a super important thing to know because we're looking at properties with HOAs. So you don't always discover the important pieces right away, but hopefully you can figure them out pretty early on in the process. So then you can tailor their search.
You and I think so much like it cracks me up. That's actually in the outline too, a little bit later down on like having those moments with your clients that are just organic conversation or things that come up. Are you taking a mental note of that? are you then doing a deeper dive into how you could use that information to provide another level of value? Had you not had that conversation, you'd just be showing HOAs that met the price point or the style application they
Right.
want.
And this is actually a client that like
Just wait a
doesn't
minute.
want white.
Not sure.
It's actually a client that doesn't want white cabinets and gray floors and gray walls. Like, they actually like things that are a little bit
Traditional.
traditional. You know, so like what one person might think is a fixer upper, the other person might think is comfortable because it's what they know. So don't automatically think somebody wants something that's like new and updated and shiny and bright either.
Yep.
That might not be their style.
Love it. Okay, you can stand here if you want to, it's up to you. All right, thank you for those contributions, I appreciate that. All right, so let's talk about number one, taking a proactive approach to finding homes. Actively searching for properties. Now, there's a part in the outline for each of these sections that I want audience participation in. So I'm going to keep things moving along so we have time for that. Get them off of other sites and onto the site that you can use to your advantage, right? You can see what they're interested in when you're watching them on MLS. You can use some of the features on the MLS to find out coming soon listings, listings that are recently going through price reductions, hot sheets, etc. You can use reverse prospecting, different things like that to really provide more value than just saying, oh, I saw this listed on Zillow, or having a client reach out and say, hey, can I get a showing on this one? I saw it too. So you can set up custom searches for your clients and their specific criteria. Regularly check for new listing and updates immediately. I recommend time blocking in the mornings or early afternoon to review new listings. And I can't tell you this enough. My whole approach to real estate is I don't want to wait for clients to tell me what to see. I want to constantly be putting things in front of them to engage them in the process, because even if it's a no, it's feedback. It's why it's a no. And it's like peeling back an onion layer, right? Like every time they say yes or they say no, I'm learning something more about what it is that they want the most. And that's what I can deliver on. Get in a pattern of calling them to text or to tell them about a new listing. Set the expectation for a text message and or email follow-up. I will call and I will say, hey, Megan, I just saw this listing come online this morning. It's in coming soon status. It's not available for showings until Friday, but it has the kitchen that you want. I know that you're going to love the tall cabinets, and it has the fenced in backyard, which you said was so important for the dog and the kids. I'm going to text you a link to this property. Can you do me a favor? I want you to take a look at the photos and let me know what you love about this property and what you don't. Why don't we get a showing schedule for this Friday so we can be the first people in to see it? So right away, I'm asking for feedback. I'm setting the tone. I'm trying to convey enthusiasm. I'm going to follow up with a text message and a link to the property. And I'm asking you for feedback, and I'm presenting a showing opportunity right away. Okay. And every time, even if it's a no, hey, I don't really like this house because, you know, the kitchen's nice and the backyard's great, but it's 2 bedrooms up and 2 bedrooms down. And we really decided we have to have 3 bedrooms on the upper level. Okay, that is really important feedback for me. I'm going to get back to work looking for the right home for you. Or maybe the feedback is, this house looks perfect. When's as soon as we can see it on Friday? Let me check availability on showings right now. I could meet you there at 8 o'clock if the home is available for showings that early, right? So no matter what, whether it's good feedback or bad feedback, it's a piece of the puzzle. You're painting a clearer picture of what the client's needs are. And it's a great way for every time you can say, thank you, I'm going to get back to work for you. You are showing that you are actively working on their behalf, not just someone who opens doors. Leverage the power of the team in your pod. Ask your fellow agents what they have coming on the market. This is a great chance for within your pod Slack channels. Reach out and ask the fellow agents like what they might have coming on the market sooner, if they know of any other agent who's listing a property in that area. If you know that there's an agent on the team who's located in a certain city and town, like if I need something in Apple Valley, I'm probably going to check with Nicole, or I'm going to check with Jennifer Casanova, who both live down there. excuse me, and I'm gonna ask, hey, do you have anything coming up that would meet this criteria? It's a great way to, put a property in front of a client that's not available yet, even if they want to wait to see it, just to show that you're actively thinking about them. Reach out to your fellow agents or that are in our networks as well. So we have different networks online. They might specialize in an area that your buyers are looking. You can ask what listings they have in withheld or coming soon status. And this is an important fact right here. Remember that you can show any property in withheld status regardless of the brokerage. A lot of people think you can only show a property that is with EXP. That is not true. You can see any property that is in withheld status. You just can't agent. Oh, really? Okay, what is it that, what's your house look like? Well, we're not ready to go on the market yet for about another month, but here's my agent's information. I could call that agent, and if I have a client that house is a good fit for, and the buyers or sellers are open to it, you can show that in withheld status. Maybe just through different networking events that you attend. Or committees you might be on, or just fellow agents you're having conversations with. You hear about a property they have. We're still in an inventory shortage. Use that to your advantage. So, questions for the team. How do you update your clients with new listings? Are you sending them listings from Raven or Zenlist? Are you posting buyer needs in Slack or maybe our NSA Facebook group? What is everyone here on the team doing to stay in front of this and proactively search for properties for their clients? This is the audience participation part, so you can shout out what you do.
Got them on the portal and I send them my home spotter app.
Did you send them our home spotter app? So that's Kelly Gaida. Hopefully the owl is showing her, but she was saying that she sends them the home spotter app. So you're kind of linked to them right away with their activity. Right, Kelly?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. All right. It's okay. Anyone else?
That also talks to them through MLS work.
Yes, it does. Yep. I love that.
I
Yes,
periodic,
Angie?
oh, sorry.
That's okay. Go ahead, Angie.
All of their MLS searches in the morning, and if I see something that to me looks like the perfect place, I'll send it to them through the Home Spotter app and just say, I saw this one this morning, something that you want to go see, and most of the time it is. But I like to get there before they send it to me.
Yes. So if you couldn't hear Angie in the back, she's a time blocker. So in the morning, she's taking the time to look at her active searches on the MLS, pick properties that maybe are already in that search that just come on the market, and then send it to her clients before they request it from her. Right. So that's a great way of, like I was saying up here, you're using the MLS search to your advantage. Right, because you can just check your clients' lists every single day and see what's in coming soon status or what is moved to active or something like that as well. Any other last tips? Are you asking for feedback from your buyers when you send them something?
Yes.
Do you ask them to come in and tell you kind of like what their thoughts are? That's an opportunity. I want you guys to see this as an opportunity to provide value. Okay. Every time that you do this, you are digging deeper into their why and into what their needs are. The more clear you are on what they need, the easier it is for you to deliver on it.
Can I say
Imagine being
something?
the who finds the perfect home for them. I'm not sure who that is, but yes.
Oh, that's Noelle. So I usually go on MLS occasionally every couple of days to see because I set them up on listings online based on their criteria. And if I see that they haven't looked at the listings for a couple of days, I go back to them and say, hey, is your criteria still okay? Are you still looking for 4 bedrooms on one level? This one popped up. It's 1 bedroom on the lowest level and 3 on the main and upstairs. Is it possibly something you can look at? So I kind of snoop around and see if they're really still active and checking my listings to make sure they're still involved and, interacting with that.
Yeah, that's great. So this is, again, it's a way to keep them engaged, right? Because you're keeping their eye on the prize. The goal is home ownership. You're keeping houses in front of them. It doesn't matter what timeline people have. If you put a dream home in front of them, if you find exactly what it is they've had in their mind, You can get them to shorten that timeline, and sometimes they're ready to just jump on that property because they don't want to pass it up. So there's lots of advantages in this. Well, how would you communicate this to your clients? You simply say, whether, you know, wherever you're at, if it's first meeting or as you're kind of like developing a relationship with them, you know, it's really important to me to find the right property for you. And that means that I have to do more than just, you know, what is it, provide more value to you than what is available publicly, right? I want to be a resource for you. I'm on a team of 80 agents. I've got access to new listings every week. So in addition to the MLS search, I'm going to be proactively reaching out to my team and my network, trying to find properties for you that I could get you into before anyone else. This is a little mini script here. You put it in your words however you want, but it's a way of just conveying the value that you're going to provide to someone as a buyer's agent. Moving on to part 2 here, getting to the heart of the client's needs. So this is a little bit about where some of what Nicole was talking about will fit in. Use open-ended questions to uncover deeper motivations and needs, understand the client's lifestyle, their future plans, and their must-have features. Do they have to have access or use of their barbecue grill, right? Like charcoal barbecue grill, if that's a deal breaker for them, don't spend time putting properties in front of them that aren't going to allow for something like that. What I like to ask my clients is I always say, think about your 5-year or your 10-year plan. You know, like, what does your dream home look like? Tell me what features are important to you. You can break it down room by room. What is it that you like about this kitchen, or what's most important to you about the kitchen? Do you have a favorite room of the house? How do you like to spend time at home? You know, are you looking more for like open spaces, or do you want to enjoy the quiet? What type of conveniences are you looking for in a home? Describe your ideal neighborhood. So these are all examples of different kinds of questions you could ask them that get them giving you details, not just saying yes or no, or leaving you guessing. If you ask someone, what type of convenience are you looking for in a home or near a home? That's not something you can just say yes or no to, or give a generic answer, right? Maybe that's somebody who is like really tech savvy and they're like, you know, it's really important to me that I have like updated electrical. I want to be able to connect to Nest thermostat. You know, I can't do split levels at all. I need to have one level living, and not just one level living, but I need like 0 entry depth, right? So like what do they call that, Jared?
Like handicap accessible.
Oh.
Not it's not handicap, maybe it is, but it's where you have.
Universal living.
I was thinking of your model in Chaska. There's a specific term. I thought it was called 0 depth, but yes.
There we go.
Okay, 0 barrier entry. So it's where you don't have like any step at all to go up. Maybe that is like handicap accessible, but I think handicap is more like 36-inch doors as well, so you can wheelchairs go through. But maybe it's something like that. I have a client looking for a lake home right now, and she cannot have any stairs at all. Doesn't care if there's a basement. Her husband can go down there as long as there's laundry upstairs. But we got to that after seeing several properties where she would try to get up the stairs and finally just said, I can't do this. I can't even do 3 or 4 stairs. I don't even want a front step. Like, if you can find me something there, I just walk into the house. That's the ideal. Knee injury from a car accident. Anyway, so like making use of those kind of questions can really show you what it is you need to find. And yeah, sometimes it's like finding a needle in a haystack, but when you find that needle in a haystack and you've delivered, they're more apt to move forward with an offer. And you look like the hero because you found them exactly what they need. Be aware of and responsive to clients' emotions and body languages when at showings or showing properties to them online. If you're doing like a consultation and you have your screen up, I always look too when I like show pictures where they're looking through it, kind of like their facial expression. It really helps tailor your approach to meeting their needs. If they instantly get excited or their eyes are lit up when you're touring a certain type of property, maybe it's like they love the landscaping and the trees, or you know, maybe they're obsessed with like the flooring or something like that. What is it about that? Are you honing in on that to say, hey, you know, these are beautiful floors? Are you looking for something that's darker toned or natural woodwork? It allows you to have a deeper dive into what it is that they're looking for. If your clients show more enthusiasm for a particular style of home, adjust your search to include more of these type of properties. It's what's going to help them stay engaged and excited about buying because they like the possibility. And the opposite of this is true. And this is why I love what Nicole was talking about. When she said she had a police officer who had to be within 10 miles right of his station. Okay, so this is an example of that. If you are showing them properties that they don't like, that aren't in the location they need, you're actually turning them away from buying because you're not putting possibility in front of them, right? It's important to hone in on what they need and find properties that are a good fit. This is what keeps them engaged. You're showing them that what they want and what they can afford is a possibility. And as long as they believe that, they're going to continue to want to move forward with the search. The second we shut them down, and we're only showing options they don't like, or it's in locations they don't like, or it doesn't have features in it that they've said they need, or you haven't gotten to the bottom of, that are needs. This is a way of starting to get them into the negative and think that home ownership isn't a possibility for them, right? So focus on the positive, always convey enthusiasm, and really try to hone in on what it is you see they like. Are you under contract with that police officer? Yeah, or are you still looking?
So we did get under contract this week.
I love it. Congratulations. She's under contract this weekend. I'm asking that because I'm curious, like if you had continued to show them properties that were outside of their target area, what do you think that would have done emotionally, mentally to the buyer about wanting to move forward? How would it have affected their view of home ownership or the buying process?
Yeah, I mean, because there's not a ton of inventory, it was a little frustrating for them. Because they have a pretty narrow area that they can buy in. And thankfully they have a budget that allowed them to buy in areas that they wanted to be in, because it's a higher price area. The other thing I did is kind of went outside the box a little bit, ended up showing them new construction a little bit over where they were comfortable buying as a price point, but the interest rates were lower, so the payment ended up being the same. It gave them like an extra $20,000 in buying power because the interest rate was lower. So,
Working within their parameters, customizing your approach, showing that there were options that they could work with, maybe ones they hadn't considered before. So you kept them engaged in the process and you were able to find where they were looking.
they didn't think that construction was even like achievable as
That's great. So and that's what they end up signing on, new construction. So you look like a hero because here you introduce this option to them that they hadn't been considering. Great job. Well, let me ask the team, what are some key questions that you're asking your clients to kind of help understand like a deeper level of their needs and their motivations or their why? Don't all rush to participate because I will follow up. Austin Hardy. What are some questions you ask to help understand your clients' kind of needs and motivations when you're working with buyers?
Question. Depends on the person, the situation, and what they're telling me.
Great.
Often doesn't ask questions, they don't evolve information.
There's
all there to them and tell the experience around them.
Hey, honestly, the best ones really do. I agree.
Dan Erickson wrote in the chat, what kind of home they grew up in?
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
A little bit of nostalgia. What kind of home they grew up in?
Are you looking for something like that or the total opposite?
Yeah.
Great. Tell me about your childhood. Let's take a deeper dive into.
You bring Dr. Phil along.
Yeah, well, I would imagine that, Dan, that opens up a lot of really unique conversation. Oh, we lived in a craftsman style in the cities and I just love big front porches, but I don't want to live in a house that has all that woodwork, or who knows? Like, I would imagine that could open up a lot of really unique conversation. It's a great
So
one.
Jelena, this is Chris. I don't ask about their childhood, but I absolutely ask where they grew up, because I find people tend to gravitate towards the type of house and the type of neighborhood they grew up in.
Yeah, true story. I'm an avid gardener, if you haven't heard that already. You'll be sick of hearing it. I plant petunias every year around the tree rings in my front yard that I put in intentionally because growing up, my mom had 2 tree rings and she always planted petunias around them, and it's ingrained in my brain and it's a way of keeping my mom with me. So like little things like that play a role in the type of home that a person chooses, right? So when we got our house, I needed to make sure I could have 2 trees in my front yard because I wanted tree rings. I know that sounds silly, but it just, you got me thinking that asking those kind of questions about growing up, whether it's the type of house or things like that, really do play a role in how people want to carry their lives forward. And maybe that gives you a little bit more detail on how to deliver, right?
So
And you're
Jelena,
building
oh,
a
sorry,
client.
go ahead.
Go ahead. Nope, you go ahead.
Another thing I ask that I think is really helpful is I will say, today is a partly cloudy day in May, and I'll say, say you're home, you don't have any plans. What do you do when you're at home? And it's so funny because I stop talking and they always kind of go, what do I do when I'm at home? Right. And it's either I'm gaming, I'm cooking, I'm, doing my crafts, I'm working out in the basement. And that really helps them, and it helps me figure out what are the most important rooms in that house. Like, how do you live in your house?
I love that. I think that's a great question to ask. What do you do when you're at home, or how do you use the spaces in your home? Not everybody wants open concept. Some people absolutely love a formal dining room, right? Because they're big entertainers. Other people, I have clients who they are doctors and they're both psychiatrists, and they were just adamant, it is our safe haven. I want no neighbors that I can see. I need to be covered in trees. I want to drown out the world when I come home. I just want to sit in sunshine and quiet. So I knew I had to find a house with lots of windows, completely private. It's a little bit different for every client, right? But asking what they do when they're home is a great way, I think, Chris. Thank you so much for bringing that question up, to dive deeper into how they use the space. And then, how can they envision themselves in those spaces when you are doing showings with them? Can you picture yourself reading in this room? I know that you love to read. Hey, this would be an ideal room for gaming. Can you picture yourself in, would this work for you when you're at home gaming on a Saturday? Right? So now you've taken this piece that they've given you, what's important in their lifestyle, and helping them envision it while they're there in a home.
I watch their body language too, especially when I'm doing an open house. If you can tell who's the cook or the chef of the family, and look based on who gravitates towards the kitchen, who's the main cook, or do they eat out? Sometimes the kitchen isn't as big of a deal, but I find a lot of times the men will gravitate towards the garage because they want to work on their muscle cars or whatever too. So I ask those questions as they're going through the house too.
Yeah. She's talking a little bit about kind of like seeing how they use spaces when they're on tours and where people gravitate, and watching their body language. We're going to talk a little bit about that as we go into communication, but I think that's a cute point. And I would say one size does not fit all. I just helped this cute couple buy a house a couple months ago now. And every kitchen we went into, they stood side by side and pretended to chop vegetables in the kitchen. They are obsessed with cooking. It's one of the things that drew them to each other. But you could tell, like, I got to the point where I realized if there wasn't elbow room for both of them at a counter, it just wasn't going to work. So little things like that, if you're paying attention to those cues when you're on showings, can play a big role as well. Okay, how to communicate this to your clients. Say, I really care about finding you the right home, not just any home. And I want to focus on truly understanding your needs and the reasons behind them. So when I ask you questions like, why is this feature important to you? Or what does your ideal weekend look like in your new home? It allows me to get to the heart of what's most important to you and tailor my search efforts to finding you the perfect home that fits the lifestyle you're looking for and your preferences. Right? So how are you going to word that with your clients, but you're really making it all about them? And you're saying, I'm going to do the work for you, right? Remember that buyers see value in an agent being a resource for them, someone who's doing the work for them. So actively listening and customizing communication. You can tailor your communication styles and schedule. Ask the clients how they prefer to communicate and match your style to theirs. Elderly people may not want to get emails. Maybe they prefer calls. Maybe they don't like text messages, right? Maybe they want to sign paperwork in person. How do you set the expectation for that? Maybe newer people are based on whatever their jobs are, they prefer only text me. Just text me first, and then if we can jump on a call and it's convenient for my schedule, we can do that. So adjust showing times also to their work schedule. You can ask them when it's best time to set up property tours, just so you have an expectation. So do you usually prefer to look at homes early in the morning, or what is your work schedule like, so that I can customize our showing schedule around that? You know, are they someone with children? Maybe they're busy on the weekends with sports. I guarantee you 1 out of 2 days now I have double headers for my kids' sport, lacrosse. That's a new thing for me. And I didn't realize how like you really have to like plan your whole life around your child's sports schedule. Kelly Guida is shaking her head because she knows that very well. What was it?
I'm trying to forget it.
She's traumatized from running her kids' hockey club. But kids' sports really do play a role in schedules, right? So like being upfront about convenience and wanting to tailor the schedule and communication style to the client's need is going to go a long way with them on the level of service that you're providing. And then, establish a routine follow-up schedule and keep clients informed and engaged. And then you can adjust this based on where they are in the stage of buying. And use Follow Up Boss to schedule updates and tasks on your calendar. So if you have your email connected to it, it's syncing to your calendar. Noelle does an amazing job of this. Actually, I want to give you a shout out, Noelle. She schedules all of her showings, working with buyers. She has her client's name attached to it. Every time she has a showing or something scheduled, it's on her calendar. There's a two-way connection with the client so they can see exactly what the schedule is and the time frame that she's got booked for them. So you don't have to go to that level, but pick something in terms of a routine for follow-up that really keeps your clients informed and that is predictable for them. I tell all my clients Tuesday afternoons, I'm going to check in with you. It doesn't matter if it's a buyer or seller. I'm always going to check in with you once we're under contract on a Tuesday afternoon, just to see if you have any questions. It's going to be a standing spot on our schedule. You can get a hold of me anytime, but I want to make sure that every week we have, some period of time to look forward to just as a check-in. So setting that kind of tone, it becomes predictable. And then your clients know that maybe we're under contract now, but I'm still going to be top of mind to my agent and I have this predictable call in place. Active listening. Pay attention to both what clients say and their non-verbal cues. You can show empathy and understanding to build trust. I almost put some song lyrics in here. There's this song from the 90s I like by Alison Krauss. Krauss, you know exactly which one I'm talking about.
When you say nothing at all.
Yes.
It's one of my favorites too.
It's a great song. The smile on your face lets me know that you need me. There's a truth in your eyes saying you'll never leave me. It's from Notting Hill, I think is what the movie is. Anyway, at the end, it says, you say it best when you say nothing at all, implying that you don't necessarily need words to speak, right? To communicate. And so if you're paying attention to that body language, like Sierra was saying she does, when you're on tours with clients, you're really getting a feel for how they're responding to things and you can fine tune your approach to that. Are you paying attention to what they're saying? Often their needs are best found in the little details. So do they make comments about long commutes, hating traffic and car noise, love walking outside, prefer to go grocery shopping a few times a week on their way home from work, pick up their child from school, always go to the same park on the weekend? Little comments like that are giving you so much information on how to customize your approach and provide value to your buyers. If I have someone who says that they hate traffic and car noise, I would never show them a property or send them a property to consider that's on a busy road. That's an absolute no for me, right? If they say something like, hey, prefer to go grocery shopping a few times a week on my way home from work, maybe then I'm looking for homes that have a grocery store that's close by, or when I'm showing a property to them, I'm highlighting the distance to the grocery store and how on their way home from work, They can just stop by quickly and it would be less time consuming for them to do kind of this daily or weekly chore for them. If they want to pick up their child from school, maybe they want to be closer to school, or they want a home that's positioned between positioned, you know, where school is kind of in the middle between their work and their home, so they don't have to drive past it. Little things like that all give you an opportunity to do a deeper dive into what their needs are and finding the perfect home for them. So this is a good example of how Nicole had said the barbecue grill conversation came up, right? Just randomly came up when your client's daughter was on tour with you at a property. And suddenly that's a big deal. She took note of that conversation and customized her approach. And now she's proactively doing all the work so that she doesn't have to show her clients properties that aren't a fit, but can kind of weed out the ones that wouldn't work and make sure she's focused on the ones that can allow for a barbecue grill. Little things like that.
It's like you're saving yourselves for too, when you're showing them, you're not showing properties that they're not high.
Exactly. I love that. If you can't hear her in the back, she's talking about how taking this proactive approach is actually saving you time as well, right? You're not getting frustrated because you're out there showing 40 homes to someone. You're really honing in on what their needs are, and the options that you're putting in front of them are ones that meet their needs. It's going to save you time and stress in the long run as well. So how do you guys use details and kind of casual conversation to take advantage of knowing more about your clients? Or how do you introduce the subject of kind of preferred communication style? Are you asking your clients, how do you want me to communicate with you?
I do.
What would you say the most common response is?
Text message. Text or call.
Yeah. Well, they
Depends on the age.
Correct. Well, Kelly, I agree with you on that. It depends on the age. I found that clients who tend to be 55 plus or older have a strong preference for phone calls. And clients who are under the age of 35 almost always only want you to communicate by text message. Generational thing, maybe, and if you're somewhere in the middle, maybe you're a little bit, you're more towards email, or it's dependent on kind of their work circumstances sometimes. But when you are asking them how they want you to communicate with them, you're providing a different level of value because you're customizing the entire experience based on what their need is and their schedule is.
I'll often do that during the buyer consultation. You know, like as we're wrapping it up, I say, like, this is all really great. Like, what's your preferred method of communication? Like, do you text or do you want phone calls? Or I said, you know, I usually start by saying, like, if you email me, I'll get your email, but I'm not on my email all day, every day. Like, if I'm out looking at properties with another client, I see a text message sooner. So if there's something that you want to bring to my attention quickly, please text me. Does that work for you?
I love that. If you can't hear Nicole in the back, she's talking about not just asking the client what is their preferred method of communication, but she's setting the expectation with them on how it's easiest to get a hold of her, right? And she's doing that in a way that works with her schedule, but she's making herself accessible to the client as well. Great communication.
And I always follow up by saying, like, if we're in the middle of negotiating a purchase agreement or a contract with the seller, I'm most likely going to call you. You said those important details of a contract are best communicated through text messages. And there are times where I actually need to talk to you on the phone. So if I call you because we're in the middle of a negotiation, I need you to take my call.
And that makes you dependable, and it makes the experience predictable because you've set the expectation up front. And now when you're delivering on that, it's a much better experience overall. And that's how you're providing more value to your client. Nicely done.
I would say it goes both ways with the other agent too, like not allowing communication past 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock. Saying, hey, let's make it a goal to try to wrap this up by 8:30. Like, if you can kind of control the way that the other agent, because if an agent's sending you shit at 11 p.m., it's gonna, you know, and you're still responding to it, it tells them that it's okay to be doing that, right? How many of you have had clients text you at like 9:30 at night and you respond? You're literally just saying it's okay to text me at 9:30 at night.
Yeah.
I mean,
For the record, if you text Parker at 9:01, he is not responding.
well, it's kind of my bit. It's, I'm a born guy. I go to bed at 9, I get up at 5, and if it's between those hours, I'm gonna be super responsive. Like Nicole said. Right? Set that expectation.
Yeah. Kind of circling this back in though on how it ties to value, it's predictable, right? And I think there's a huge amount of value in that for a client of knowing what to expect in a process and a circumstance and a working relationship. So establishing communication from the beginning and how that's going to move forward is critical to the success of their experience overall. Anything else you want to add?
It's really hard to do. It's really, really, really big deal.
It is really hard to do, especially if you're like me and you just work a lot, but it's hard to do, but you're absolutely right. My first client that I ever had in real estate, I did not set that expectation with. To this day, I've sold her 4 properties. She will text me at midnight without a second thought, and I cannot help but reply because she counts on it. But she has just given me so much business. She's the only person I'm letting get away with that. So her name is
Can I
Elsa.
Can I
What?
just take it a little bit? Well, I come from a different culture where people expect, like, they might send you a text in the middle of the night. Like you said, if people have sent you referrals in the past, you can't help yourself. I actually had like a Moroccan person reach out to me a couple of days ago at 10:30 p.m. And he said, you know, I've had this realtor that's non-responsive. And then I thought of you. I'm like, oh my gosh, you're on my Facebook, but I couldn't find your phone number. So he sent me a message on Messenger and I responded to him. And we saw 3 homes and now their offer is being accepted this morning. So it just depends on your situation and the culture you come from. The 9 p.m. rule does not apply to everyone, in my opinion.
Right. And I think this is where you as an agent get to customize your approach.
To unpack there.
Yeah.
Like. I'd want to know some more about that situation, but typical business hours are not after 9 p.m.
Yeah.
Typically.
Well, that's why we can't do showings past that time, so.
Yeah, and if that's something that weighs on you. As an agent, if you feel like you're strung out all the time, always in response mode, putting those boundaries in place is good for you. It's good for your client.
Yep. And I will add to this when it comes to working in through an inspection period, nobody wants to wait until the 11th hour and you're signing an amendment or a cancellation at 11:58 p.m. on the day your inspection is due, right? Like that, the stress that can cause with your clients. So really establishing good communication and a pattern for that and expectation up front is really important to their overall experience. We good? Okay. Last part here, be the go-to resource and always one step ahead of the process. I'm going to share a chart. I have very limited time. I just realized it's 11:55. I'll send this out to everybody because I think it's important. This is from a 2024 study that was done by NAR on the age of the home buyer and what is most important to them in terms of service or value provided by their agent. Help finding the right home to purchase. Look at this. It's most important in an elderly group of people. Okay, overall for stats. Help buyer negotiate the terms of the sale. Between 25 and the age of 25 to 33, how many of them thought that was important, right? So I want this chart to go out to you guys and it will kind of give you some perspective on what buyers today, based on their age range, see as valuable from their agent. It's a little tip for you to kind of get to know your client more and adjust your approach based on some of those things. But as far as providing value, again, it goes back to delivering something to them that they can't get for themselves or is a higher level of service that will help the overall experience and reduce stress. So you can introduce our lending partner, our title partner, our homeowners insurance company. PHT has all 3 of these in place right away, right? Home inspectors. Who is it that you use for home inspectors? The way that they communicate to clients is really important. You don't want to just randomly introduce somebody you've never seen their style or approach through, with clients walking through a home inspection. So if you're going to give a recommendation on home inspectors, make sure you know exactly how they communicate to your clients and that it's a good fit. some service providers, like maybe after inspection, like they need a handyman or they've got projects that are gonna have lined up. Are you providing value by having a quick reference for them with that? House cleaners, someone that could help make their move process a little bit easier. Recommended moving companies that you've worked with or your clients have had good experience with. PHT moving truck, right? Like that's such a huge feature and a convenience. You can introduce all of these things up front when you're meeting with clients for the first time or you're having a buyer consultation. This is all part of your value proposition. So you need to be really well versed in how you talk about introducing these things to your clients. It's setting you apart from other agents who are just waiting for someone to send them a property so that they can open a door. Utility transfer service, we still have that, or,
I don't know.
okay, it's in our guide, I can't remember what it's called.
Yeah, there is, like, our clients do get emails offering help with utility transfer.
So I know we were working with one company, I don't know if we still do that, but I wanna let everyone know. This is a their free service with our MLS. So if you go onto Transaction Desk at the bottom, you can actually create an integration with a couple of these companies. Move Easy is one of them that I've worked with lots of times. My clients have had good experience with that, and they reach out and they do that concierge service to transfer utilities over. So even if PHT doesn't have a preferred provider right now,
Send a link to the
Yeah,
buyer.
that homekeeper.
Homekeeper.
They sold.
Yeah, they are.
So now they're.
That's what it's called. Thank you.
Aging to fill it out.
We do that, that's true.
They never do.
Did you guys like that service?
Yes.
well, if you guys,
Now I get the text day of closing, I need to transfer the utility.
Yeah.
And. Our DC, ask the listing agent for it, if the listing agent agrees.
so we can look at some of the other services that are available through Transaction Desk and how to integrate that with the team if you want. But there are a couple other good ones out there that are options, so.
Next Tuesday we'll have some options. They sold it, which sucked, but.
Why don't we just do a free one?
Yeah, the
Yeah.
company was kind of like they'd call and reach out to people and they'd kind of get freaked out. So yeah, we'll figure something out.
Okay, all right, I'm gonna kick this over to our fierce leader, Liz, so she can run the team meeting from this point forward. You want me to shut it down or just keep it going?
No, you can shut it down and they can jump back in.
Okay, you guys are gonna jump back into training into the team meeting in just a minute, okay? Thanks for participating. I'll send this out. That's for yourselves. See you back in a minute. Bye-bye.